Hey there, EB here on the Anything But Bland weekly update. Heading towards the close of 2025. Can't believe it went by so quickly. I was just talking about Halloween and then Thanksgiving, and now we're almost at Christmas next week. Again, this is my favorite time of the year. I am so thankful. Monday this week, I got all the drains and the balloons taken out of my nose, and so far, so good. Touch wood, knock wood, that I have not had any bleeding episodes. It just, you really take for granted sometimes, at least I did, about how uh, you breathe and you don't really think about it. But when your nasal cavity is totally restricted and your throat's closing and you're gasping for air for more than a week, you really do appreciate it. So I have spent the better part of this week learning to breathe through my nose again and relaxing and enjoying the fact that I'm getting good oxygen. So last night we had President Trump's nighttime speech. It was 20 minutes long. He obviously wanted to keep it at 20 minutes. He seemed to have been reading pretty quickly, but it was really interesting. Again, we go back to what Kellyanne Conway said, that after Trump was elected, that he has his own version of an alternative set of facts. And clearly last night he did. He spent a good bit of his speech talking about Biden and how he inherited such a bad economy from Biden, but he was just totally embellishing his statistics, and I can run down the list. He said that there's been $18 trillion of committed capital to be invested in America by companies starting factories and businesses. That's just simply not true. The White House website, which has already been deemed to have embellished at that point, says only $8 trillion. He also said that the inflation has come down after he became president. That is simply not true. It's actually upticking right now at 3.6% or 3%, which is the exact same inflation amount that when he took over from Biden. The unemployment rate is going up to 4.6%, which is high. He said that he has lowered healthcare costs by 600%. You really can't lower anything by more than 100%. If you do, then you actually start having to pay money. So he said he lowered healthcare costs and prescription drug care costs by 600%. So if he did do that, then people would actually be getting paid to do prescription drugs. It's a physical impossibility. He did announce that he's going to give a military dividend, the 1776 dividend, celebrating the 200 years. I think that's awesome. Anytime you want to give the military money for service for our country or veterans, I'm 100% behind it. It smelled like desperation. It smelled like a coach who was losing at halftime, having to give a speech going into or give a statement going into the third quarter that all's great, even though we're losing 21-7. It just smelled like desperation. And again, I've said this before, that Trump is not good at showing empathy. He is not good at showing, like Bill Clinton said, I feel your pain. No, he cannot show feels his pain. He cannot admit that people are concerned about the economy, that the consumer confidence gauge is the lowest it's been in 35 years, that his ratings on the economy are exactly where Joe Biden's were at the worst. He has a 31% approval rating on the economy. His approval rating overall is at 37%, which is the lowest it's ever been. He is hemorrhaging from his base. He's hemorrhaging from the youth vote. He's hemorrhaging from the Latin vote. He's hemorrhaging from the independent vote, and he's hemorrhaging from the female vote. Venezuela, it keeps escalating this week. He said that he's putting a all-out incoming and outgoing blockade on Venezuelan oil tankers, we saw that Putin has aligned himself with Maduro and said that he would support Maduro. Um, this is so much more than fentanyl. This week, Trump tried to, by executive order, declare that fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction, and he's doing that so that he could show that there's a war with Venezuela and possibly Colombia and some of the other South American countries. Um, he said it was all about fentanyl, but as it turns out, even Susie Wiles, and we're going to talk about the chief of staff's 11 interviews that she gave to the Vanity Fair magazine, even she said it's about regime change, it's about getting rid of Maduro, as well as confiscating a lot of the Venezuelan oil that the United States wants a part of. We used to be a big trading partner with Venezuela, then it stopped, and Biden created an exception for Chevron that they can drill in Venezuela, but we don't buy Venezuelan oil, and Trump wants to take that oil. So it is so much more than just fentanyl, even though that's the guise of all of these boat explosions, and for Trump to have amassed the largest amount of naval ships and air air support in that part of the world in the history. So that's pretty interesting. Susie Wiles, who's the chief of staff, she is the daughter of Pat Summerall, who used to do NFL CBS football with John Madden. Pat Summerall was a kicker, played for the New York Giants. Susie is, really the only adult in the room in that cabinet that you could really talk about. She did an amazing job in keeping Trump focused and getting him elected in 2024. She's the first female chief of staff, and by all reporting has done a great job. It's herding squirrels, and to keep Trump somewhat grounded takes a very steady, strong hand, which she has done. And she talks about when she reins Trump in and when she lets him go, that, it's not her job to restrain him. He does what he wants, but she keeps the guardrails as close as possible. She keeps his schedule. But she sat for 11 separate interviews with Vanity Fair before this Vanity Fair article came out. And it is an article that rings true. Nobody's saying that what the guy wrote is not true, because he actually recorded her conversations. What they're saying is it's a hit piece, and he juxtaposed stuff and moved stuff around. The fact of the matter is she had diarrhea at the mouth, and probably shouldn't have said some of the things that she said. I got to believe that Trump knew she was giving these interviews, and other people in the White House, cabinet officials, but she took a hatchet to Elon Musk, said that Elon Musk should never have cut U.S. aid, that was a very vital program, that he was all about expediency and just cutting quickly, and then after you cut and you get rid of it, then we'll try to rebuild it or deal with the aftermath. She said that a lot of his cuts were when he was microdosing, and suggested that was because he was doing ketamine. That is a big, strong statement, and that is a defamatory statement if not true. Um, uh, and I'm not sure that ketamine is legal. If he did it, I don't think I'm not sure he did it. But for her to say that was extraordinary. She said that Pam Bondi absolutely whiffed on the Ghislaine Maxwell matter, Jeffrey Epstein matter. She said that when she said she had a notebook full of stuff, it was a notebook full of nothing. She said that she had a client list of Epstein's on her desk. That was not true. So Susie Wild said she absolutely whiffed and hurt Trump on this. She said that J.D. Vance is absolutely craven, that his metamorphosis or turning to Trump when he was a rabid Democrat in 2016 was political, not philosophical. And she also says that if there's a conspiracy theorist, he's been peddling it and believing in him for 10 years. which is a pretty amazing thing to do. The OMB guy, Russell, I forget his last name, she said that he is absolutely a right wing conservative zealot. Um, so, you know, she definitely said that Trump is seeking retribution against his enemies, but she had a promise from him that he was only going to do it for 90 days after he was elected. She clearly admitted that the Letitia James repetitive trying to get her indicted before a grand jury is personal, and he is seeking retribution. Um, Dan Bongino, who is the second in command to Kash Patel at the FBI, is stepping down at the end of the year. That's no surprise. He's been rumored to be very disenchanted with the job and also the positions that Kash Patel is taking. Because remember, Kash Patel and Bongino, they came a moment when they went down the Epstein rabbit trail for all the public and said that there's so much there, and now that there doesn't seem to be a there, or that they're not going to be releasing all the files from the DOJ, he is jumping ship. Um, we know that the White House has these photos of all the presidents in a hallway, and we know that Trump has put an auto pen photo for Biden. Obviously, it's petulant. Obviously, it's sophomoric. Obviously, it's disrespectful, and it's scummy to go along with all the scummy shit that he does every single day. It fits into his narrative. The one thing that Susie Wiles said about Trump is that he has an alcoholic's personality. And Trump didn't deny that. His brother was an alcoholic. He is a famous teetotaler, which I have a lot of respect for him on that. But she said that he's a possessive, fixated type of alcoholic's personality. And she would know that because her father, Pat Summerall, he went to the Betty Ford Clinic. He had serious alcohol problems. So on these plaques, Trump on these photos of these presidents, he then put his own narrative plaques underneath. And one of the plaques he put for Biden and Obama is that they are the worst presidents in American history. It's divisive, it's awful, it's disgraceful. He even badmouthed Ronald Reagan, as well as Bill Clinton. It's stunning to me, and I think that when this guy either dies or gets sick, none of the other presidents are going to come forward to support him and pay respects to him. The Trump's economic approval rating again is at 31%. So now let's talk about what happened last weekend, because between the Brown University shooting where 2 people died, and we still don't have that shooter caught yet, and what happened in Australia, which was absolutely forecasted based on the tolerance of anti-Semitic views that Australia has seemed to have been tolerated lately, as well as coming out in support of a two-state solution and giving recognition to Palestinian statehood, which was against what Israel wanted and the Jews of the world said. We had the killing of 11 people at a Hanukkah function at the beach in Australia. And it was really amazing to see one of the Arabs who were present there take the gun away from one of the terrorists after he had been shot 3 or 4 times in the shoulder. Just an amazing, heroic act. But we have that. And then we have Rob Reiner and his wife being stabbed to death, and apparently by his son. And what really stunned me was within 15 or 20 minutes, Trump went on a tirade against Rob Reiner, saying that he had this coming to him because of his political beliefs. He happens to be a liberal. He happens to be a very active member of Hollywood in politics. Certainly not a fan of Trump, but Trump made it about himself and in a disgusting fashion said that he got killed for his political beliefs. No, he got killed because, unfortunately, Rob Reiner and his wife had a very troubled son that is a a repetitive drug addict. He's been in 17 different drug and alcohol facilities, and obviously it cannot be cured. Obviously, he's destroyed several times their home, their guest house. There was a fight at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party Saturday night, the night before they were killed, which was last Sunday, and stabbed. Um, for Trump not to be able to show empathy, that's one thing, because he can't. He just doesn't have it in him. He doesn't have compassion or the feeling when other people are suffering, and he can't muster up the strength to be that commander in chief that people can go to when they're hurting. And we are hurting because of, when we send kids to college, we want them to be safe, and their lives are in danger, and people that are celebrating the Jewish holiday shouldn't be gunned down. Trump can't do it. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have what it takes. He's the smallest and smallest of men when he gets on that Truth Social and he tries to berate people like that. It is really sad what he said. A lot of the Republicans, Don Bacon, who is obviously not running for another seat, he uh, condemned it. Marjorie Taylor Greene condemned it. About 12 or 14 other Republicans also condemned it. So we're starting to see a break in the well. We're starting to see some Republicans vote with Democrats over the extension of the Obamacare subsidies, which are going to expire on December 31st, and Congress has done nothing about it. Um, it was a horrible thing that he said about Rob Reiner. And he's just that kind of person. Every once in a while you run across somebody that has that kind of selfishness that is extraordinary. Contrary to what Trump said, Pete Hegseth said he won't publicly release the video of the boat strike that killed the survivors in the Caribbean on September 2nd. Not surprising. It's a cover up. The House and Senate do want this to be released to the public, so we shall see. South Carolina got a huge win. A manufacturer has committed $330 million to a massive solar factory with major implications for U.S. Energy. I think it's just a great investment in South Carolina, even though we are suffering in the solar industry because Trump in the big beautiful bill took away a lot of the subsidies. Sharon Moore, the whole Sharon Moore thing, who was the former coach of Michigan football, it just keeps to get more and more stunning. He was having an affair with a 30-year-old subordinate. He was stalking her for months, are the allegations, and he was arrested after going to her house uninvited and threatening to kill himself with a butter knife. He's obviously a troubled man. He lost his career. He lost a $30 million guaranteed contract. I don't think he's going to get hired by anybody going forward, certainly not in a coach's position. A federal court of appeals ruled on Wednesday that President Trump and Alina Habba, who was the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey, who just resigned, must pay $938,000 of court sanction costs of the $1 million sanction for frivolous lawsuit that Trump brought tied to the 2016 Russia collusion claims. Remember, Russia, and the fake dossier? Well, he sued over it. And a federal court of appeals judges, not just the district court judge, said that it was an absolute frivolous lawsuit, and Trump and his attorney are liable for $938,000 of costs. The court also upheld this decision because it was deemed a complete misuse of the legal system. The Gallup poll has found that 36% of the people approve of Trump's job performance, which is down from 41%. That's about a 12% slide in October, and it's nearing his second term low. His disapproval rating has risen to 60% from 54%. And again, it's fallen dramatically with Republicans, with independents, and with Democrats. I told you that Trump already named fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. It is not. This is a law enforcement function. It is a drug. It is a crime. I applaud him what he's doing, but don't try to create a war over this. Um, the GOP House Committee Chairman James Comer finally got Jack Smith to testify for 8 hours yesterday, and Jack Smith laid it out. Lock, stock, and smoke and barrel of all the different confidential documents that Trump had and what he did to interfere with the 2020 election. Sad that the committee wouldn't release his testimony publicly, but from what I understand, he was very compelling. Um, James Comer said he plans contempt of Congress proceedings against Bill and Hillary Clinton if they don't show up and testify as to um, the Epstein matter, but he doesn't want Trump to have to testify to that. Um, you know, when a parent such as, a talent such as Rob Reiner, you're talking about Spinal Tap, you're talking about A Few Good Men, you're talking about, his acting in as Meathead, in All the Family, you're talking about When Harry Met Sally, so many iconic movies. We lose a talent like that. It really is a loss that the arts suffer. Um, and I find it kind of ironic that a lot of the Republicans are not really talking about Trump's uncivilized comment about Rob Reiner. The Republicans certainly justifiably and correctly talked about the nasty Democratic statements that were made after Charlie Kirk died and some of the attempted humor, which was disgusting. But yet they don't have a statement to make when Trump makes the same type of statements mocking Rob Reiner's death. It's just about civility, folks. And so, Trump said that, Rob Reiner was suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Probably talked about it all the time. Um, but I thought John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, said it best. A wise man once said nothing. Why? Because he's a wise man. Sometimes not saying anything says so much more than saying something and showing how small that you really are. Um, Trump said Thursday, he just diarrhea at the mouth, said he's going to give a full pardon to former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters from Mesa County, Colorado, who was convicted in state court, folks, of election fraud and election interference. Trump can't give a pardon on state right matters and matters of state prosecution. It's not in the Constitution. It's not possible. Although um, he's going to challenge it and say that it does concern voter fraud in the 2020 election, which is a federal issue. And I believe that Trump says that as president, I have full pardon powers, both on the state and federal level. Unemployment hit a 4-year high of 4.6%. Um, Mike Lindell, who is the My Pillow guy, who's a wacko himself, he's seen his company go into the crapper. He said that Trump can interpret the Constitution any way he wants. That's what is one of the powers of the presidency. Um, Clemency issued by a president only works when it's a federal crime. It cannot deal with state conviction. She was convicted on state level crimes in Colorado, and only Colorado Governor Jared Polis has the constitutional authority to pardon or give clemency for these offenses. Um, President Trump sued BBC on Monday of this week for $10 billion, 10 gazillion, trillion, whatever, just name it, Dr. Evil, because they supposedly didn't play all of his speech clips on the January 6th, 2020, when the Capitol was swarmed in a sequential fashion. So he is sued. We've already seen how his suits for defamation work out. Yes, he early on in his administration, the second term, he got some of the studios to pay him money, but he's never won on these lawsuits, and he will not win. Trump alleges that BBC defamed him and violated Florida law that bans deceptive and unfair trade practices. Donald Jr. got engaged. He's dating a 38-year-old woman. Good for him. He was been divorced since 2018. He was engaged for a little bit to Kimberly Guilfoyle, who used to be married to Gavin Newsom. Um, the U.S. Department of Health cancels millions and millions of dollars in grant. This is Bobby Kennedy to the American Academy of Pediatrics. Well, South Carolina now has the distinction of being the one state in the country that has the highest measles rate of young kids, 138 different cases. Good on you, Bobby Kennedy, for stopping all the immunization and vaccinations for young kids. Think it's a wonderful idea. You're just so awesome at what you're doing. I do hope that the impeachment functions the impeachment proceedings that they have filed against Bobby Kennedy go forward. Um, Trump's beautiful ballroom now has doubled in cost to $400 million, originally from $200 million. Now he says he's going to build it under budget. So what he's doing is he's creating this really, really high budget. He'll come in underneath and say, see, I saved money. He claims that these are all donations. We don't know that yet. He has been sued by the American Historical Society for what he's doing, and now we're told that it may take longer to build the ballroom than what he said. J.P. Miller, he's that preacher down in Horry County. He was indicted yesterday, I believe, on 3 counts in federal court. Good for Brian Sterling. Brian Sterling is a friend of mine. Brian Sterling is a former client of mine. Brian Sterling, who is the U.S. Attorney for South Carolina, is somebody who I respect, a former chief of staff for Governor Haley, a former Department of Corrections chairman. He's just a great guy, and he's doing a great job. And J.P. Miller, you opened your mouth apparently one too many times. Kind of rich now that you are a defendant in the case where you tried to lawfare and bring all those suits against people in magistrate court. Brian Walsh out of Massachusetts, not surprisingly, was found guilty of killing his wife. He cut her up, dismembered her, got rid of all her stuff, but claimed that he didn't kill her. Obviously, that did. Blanca Simpson, who was the subsequent housekeeper after Gloria Satterfield, really close with Maggie. You saw her in the Hulu series. She's a great woman, really like her. She took Bubba the dog and has raised him since the death of Maggie and Paul, and obviously Alex going away and becoming incarcerated. She wrote her own book called Within the House of Murdaugh. I will read it. I do like her. This is the Elvis Presley family bombshell. Lisa Marie Presley and her daughter Riley Keough supplied eggs for John Travolta and Kelly Preston's to have children. Isn't that amazing? It's in a new lawsuit. Bryce Underwood, who is the quarterback for Michigan, the #1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, who started last year for Michigan, not surprisingly, is transferring to LSU. He was originally going to go there. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy, and Don Pavia from Vanderbilt finished second, but I think he really showed his ass when he said F all the Heisman voters because he didn't win. I think it's going to hurt his draft chances. They list him at 6 feet tall. I think he's 5'9". I think he's going to have a hard time making it in the pros anyway. The quarterback from Ohio State was hurt, that he was only ranked 4th in the voting for Heisman Trophy, and Love, who was the running back for Notre Dame, who declared himself for the draft, he was in 3rd. The Chiefs are finally out of the playoffs. This is the first time, I think, since '98, since there hasn't been a Brady or a Mahomes in the playoffs in the NFL. And Josh Allen as well. I think it's really shocking. It's a shame Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL and his PCL. He's going to be out for 9-10 months to a year. Also, Micah Parsons for the Packers, he tore his ACL. And then seeing Phillip Rivers come back for the Colts last week at 44, going to be 45 years old. Hadn't played since 2020, threw a touchdown, almost won. The Seahawks beat them, I think, 1916. But he's going to start again this week. Is just amazing. December 31st, folks, Tiger Woods turns 50 years old. Hard to believe. We remember Tiger in the 90s when he won his first Masters, and Arnold and Jack said before he's done, he's going to have won 12 or 15 of them. If he wasn't injured, I believe he would have. He's not going to pass Jack's major record of 21 majors. I think he has 18. He does have the most tour wins. Um, and I think it's sad that we didn't see the best of Tiger Woods really over the last 12, 15 years after he had the incident with his ex-wife. Steve Tannehill, who is an iconic quarterback for South Carolina during the 90s, he died at 53 years old. Very sad. Evidently, he was suffering from cancer. He owned group therapy and a number of other bars in South Carolina. Just a really neat guy. Came down from Pennsylvania with a mullet. Um, he won most winning of South Carolina quarter, or no, he's the most touchdowns, 62 touchdowns he threw. He beat Clemson. I remember him signing his name on the 50-yard line. Um, Nick Reiner, again, is being charged with the murder of his parents. It's incredibly sad, just incredibly, incredibly sad that somebody would be so sick that they would think that it's the right thing to do to stab and kill your parents. We're going to find out whether, you know, he gets first degree murder charges and they stick, or what role does addiction and mental illness fit into this crime? Obviously, it's a long history of unbridled drug abuse and use. I think the parents, rightfully so, gave up. They just nothing more that they could do. He was so dangerous and so destructive. Um, it really is sad. They tried everything with rehab, and you know, we don't know the inner dynamics of their family, but it is very, very sad. Younger people are starting to hold these anti-Semitic views. I saw that somebody put a circular into a gift that was purchased off Amazon that said "Free Palestine." Um, we are really, really running into a problem. And I think it's the social media algorithms that may be fueling this anti Semitism amongst young Americans and these people. We have to continue to educate. We have to talk about the Holocaust. Remember, it's only 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago, 80 years ago. And in the blink of history, that is very, very short. Um, JD Vance says immigration is driving anti-Semitism. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure I can ever listen to JD Vance again after I read his book Hillbilly Elegy and see him, the metamorphosis in him. There's just something, a screw just got loose on this guy. Um, the Brown University shooting, I just can't believe that we have not found that shooter yet after 4 days. Certainly there is the video of this guy who's a little bit on the heavier side. He looks like he has a limp. I would think that somebody would recognize his body type and his walk. Um, so, with that said, everybody, I want you to have a great weekend. Uh, my book, Anything But Bland, is available on Amazon. It would be a great stocking stuffer. Um, I want everybody to enjoy their family and enjoy their friends. And, you know, during the month of December, we just kind of let our guard down a little bit, which is nice. And we tell people how much they mean to us and how much they mean to our families. May Winburn Rice agreed that what Trump said last night was unbelievable. Shannon Cook said she hated that taxpayers had to pay for those disgraceful plaques that he put up under the president's photos. And Shelley Chavez said, bring on solar power. Climate change is kicking us around in Washington. So, everybody, have a great weekend. I appreciate you guys listening to me rambling on, and I will do one more weekly update before the end of the year. It'll probably be before next Friday. and then we will resume in January. I'll be going away from December 28th to January 6th to go ski in Colorado, but it doesn't look like they're getting any snow. So everybody pray to the snow gods and do our snow angels, and hopefully we'll get snow. Everybody take care.